Tune in Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for
Good evening. Welcome to Between the Lines. I wonder how many, what are we up to, Brad? 74 show? 74th show, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know if the other 73 can live up to this one. Let me tell you, we have got two guests here. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. It's going to be a wild show. And thanks, legislature. We'll get to you later. We've got a lot going on, and I just want to go over a few things. Our sponsors, Daniel Forrester, wonderful young attorney, and he's not young, he's 45, young attorney in Clinton, been there 20 years, is running for chancellor, and he's been supporting Brad and BBB, and we appreciate that, as well as a number of other people. Sean Gleason at IB3. Who am I missing, buddy? Navarro, Susanna Navarro out there, yeah. ORUD's been fantastic. Look at all the good work they're doing. Who? Fan Gear Barn. Your favorite team, your jerseys. That's my guy down there, Craig Bates. He's the fantastic. I thank everybody, really do, especially Daniel. Tonight, Wendy Manis will have her second edition of her show. We're refining everything. She's doing great. And I've got other assignments for her. But, I mean, the bottom line is that we're going to do great. We're going to have a wonderful show. We got a lot of good sponsors. Chuck Fleischman coming in 2 weeks. I got a guest next week, but last week of June and the first week of July, he's going to come on and talk about deficits, all the problems in Washington and everything else, and he'll be on for 2 shows. He's going to stay that whole time. So that'll be great. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. So we have 2 guests tonight. I say one, they say, no, you're putting 2 on, so because you know how it works. So you all remember back in the election season last year, Michael Swisher was kind of a phenomenon. He came out of nowhere, ran the primary. We only had like 4 weeks to do anything, and Michael just killed him in Anderson County, swept through him, and that's a big statement. And he had trouble in the other counties because those guys have been out there for a long time, and it stretched so far over to. But Michael was a phenomenon. He's not the biggest phenomenon in his family. You'll find that out tonight. It's his wife, Nikki Swisher, a 3rd grade teacher, is going to come on, and she's with Amber Edrington. Am I saying it right? Mm-hmm. Amber Edrington. Well, by the end of this show, and if I can get, you like to get ratings, right? And we just want all her BFFs to watch. Yes. That'll drive the numbers to the sky. I'm telling you. Tim, you got 2 good, it's just 2 good people here. And you work at Junior Achievement.
I do.
They do a great job down there. I mean, you got a lot of work. So you've got these biz towns every day, and then you got other stuff. So they're both going to work today. But tonight we're going to talk about the Tennessee legislature. My disclaimer, 5 or 6 of them are clients of mine. I mean, from different angles, not issue clients, but campaign clients that I've worked with and done stuff before. But we'll leave that as it is. It passed the Senate too, didn't it? Or was it just the House? It had to pass both.
It had to pass both. It's full, yeah.
Well, then the senators are on call too here. I don't know about what it is. So anyway, here's my understanding, and you guys jump right in when it gets started, and you can be assured Nikki will. And Amber's her boss. So I mean, where are we going? So anyway. No. We're going to get in. The legislature passed a new law last year about TCAPs and reading, because we got behind in COVID. No fault of the teachers and the students. We got behind, and they made a law. I'm going to put it in the simplest terms. If you can't read well enough, proficient, in 3rd grade, you don't get to go to 4th grade. That's what happened. What they didn't expect was massive failure of the implications. I personally don't feel that law is a bad law. I don't think that their goals are bad. but the implementation and the expectations, it would be like me telling Brad, you're only making 1 out of 5 free throws and you're not jumping very well. By Thursday, and this is Monday morning, Thursday I need you to hang your elbows on the rim and make all your free throws. It doesn't happen like that. You got to work, you got to do different things. They did lay out 3 options, and one was summer school, another one was something, and what was the third one?
You had tutoring options.
Tutoring
so
options,
in your
that's right.
upcoming 4th grade year, you could opt out to, it's free tutoring throughout the whole 4th grade year. You could do that. Or,
So you get to go to 4th grade and accept the tutoring?
yes, under certain.
That's not too bad.
But that was after many, many changes. It wasn't that way in the beginning. It
So
wasn't laid
they've
out
been
that in the
beat on
beginning.
enough to where they've made some changes.
Yes, sir. Yes, that's
Now,
correct.
Amber, you had a daughter
Yes.
or a son that was in 3rd
So
grade?
I have a 3rd grader, and I have a 6th grader last year. He's in 7th grade now. And she came from Knox County schools. We transferred to Anderson County, moved to Anderson County last May. Went to a brand new school, had never taken a standardized test before. I think my daughter is magic in every way, as most parents do.
It
Future
begins.
CEO.
Future CEO, gonna
You know
rule
she
the
is.
world,
Yes,
and
and she
she
will.
was in Nikki's class. We became good buds over my concern. One of the main things that really we started talking about was this
We're down
law.
to good buds.
We are good. No, we are BFFs.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
BFFs.
Oh,
Okay.
trust me.
So one of the things that we did talk about was my concern over this law. That was very early. We talked about
Define
it.
the law as you understand it.
So I watched this go through the process. One of the things that I felt early on was that it was the only way of determining whether the student could go on. So my concern was, if this is the only way, and we have students who are not great test takers. So you have students who move through school who maybe aren't great test takers, but their teachers hear them read, see them read, their parents are working with them, and maybe they're more advanced at math even. So you've got...
Tell me something right here. Tell me, I'm taking a reading. My son's taking all of it. He's a junior in high school, okay? And he's reading AP course. This kid is reading. Is it just a multiple choice test? with
It is,
answers?
yes. And that's the frustrating point that we're trying to make. It's almost like as educators, we are sitting here and all through school, Alan, we're always taught, don't teach to the test, don't teach to the test, don't teach to the test.
And then they put expectations.
And then
We
they
have
put
to-
expectation where it's a multiple choice question. So what, of course, are we going to be doing? We are taking that love of reading that we try to foster for our children and try to embed in our children. And then we're like, okay, guys, we don't have time for this. We need to focus more on how can you respond to a multiple choice question? And you give the answers that the test takers are expecting you to get to, you know?
This is not about your 2 children. You have 2 children, right?
I have to.
Yes.
Oh, this is not about them. But your 6th and 7th grader was past kindergarten and 1st grade when COVID hit.
Yes.
Your daughter
were-
went through that experience.
Yes. Yeah. Our kids are in the same grade together.
Yes.
Our daughters. Kate and Kinley are
BFFs.
BFFs.
So
yeah.
anyway,
So they were 3rd grade when COVID hit. They were 3rd grade.
Okay, but the question
Yep.
is, was it easier for your son to get through all this reading stuff that has been your daughter?
I think that a big point that I would like to make is that my son loves reading more than my daughter does now. So my son did not take the TCAPS in 3rd grade because that year was cut short for
Yes.
him. We were in Knox County schools, and I guess it was cut short for everyone.
It was.
So he didn't have it in 3rd grade.
Didn't
he
have what?
He did not have the TCAPS.
The TCAPS.
test. The
They
TCAPS.
decided
We
not to
skipped a
do
year,
it.
I forgot that.
Yes, they did. They decided to skip the
Yes.
year.
And so then when he went into 4th grade, it was more, and I think we should back up on what we
I lost the
actually
show
give.
7 minutes ago. Go
Let's
ahead.
back up. So I think
I'm
one of
just
the
scared.
important points about these TCAPs is the reason that originally we were evaluating students in this way was to determine where there were gaps with specific schools.
Yes.
So we were looking as a state to say, where are we missing the mark,
Right.
right? So if you have a school that is maybe underperforming, then this test was supposed to show by and large how that group of students was doing, right? It was never really meant, from my understanding of being, a student here in the state of Tennessee my entire life, to be a method of evaluating whether or not a student was
They should
proficient
progress.
enough to move on. That was left up to
So
the
where
school
did it change?
boards.
Where did it change? In Nashville legislature?
Yes.
Why did it change?
I
Who
guess
told them to change?
That's a great question.
Well,
I would. Do you know I do not know the answer to this. I mean, I would assume it's our.
We're going straight
governing.
to we were looking for a third show on Thursday night. I think the Amber Edrington show, but
Yes.
I gotta figure it all out.
Oh, she can do it. Listen,
Well,
she can do it.
I think
But
one
I
thing
think
that is
that's-
interesting is if you look at, one of the things that I brought up as I was looking through this was who's fighting for this law? Okay, so there was
behind it?
one big lobbyist, one big proponent of this law, and that was
Yes.
Pearson, which is the test taker, the test manufacturer.
makers.
Yes, so Pearson actually just jumped from 93 million. That's what our state is paying Pearson. This past year, we jumped to 132 million.
Okay, so what you're alleging, now you're in my world, so what
Yeah.
you're alleging
I am.
is they lobbied subjectively, knowing that doesn't mean they didn't care about the kids, but they knew they were gonna make more money if they did it.
And
Who
I think
proposed the bill?
that is a good question.
House and Senate.
I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Somebody
I have
had to
no
be the
idea.
author of the bill, and there were
Yes.
co-sponsors after that.
I have not researched that.
So sometime during the thing, and I get it. I get why they wanted to put the progression of grade through. They wanted to scare people into doing it right or doing it their way or
It was
whatever.
a scare tactic. Absolutely.
so.
Absolutely
That's what I would
it
have.
was.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Personally speaking, I feel like it was a scare
Because
tactic.
everything's subjective. We did take a few courses, get a little bit or two. Think of a grandmother doing it. But if you say you're not going to fourth grade,
Oh,
then it's a mess.
yes. It completely changes the
So
perspective.
my understanding is that we know in Knox County, big announcement, 60% didn't pass the test. I know numbers in Oak Ridge are closer to 30% did not pass the test, or 130, 29, something like that.
32.
Anderson County, give me some numbers.
Our total proficiency was 44.3%,
Okay, so
which was, I mean,
that's
32,
okay.
which is good, but you and I have
A
talked.
lot of rural
It's-
schools in here. I'll defend
yes.
Anderson County schools. And
Yes.
we have one of the best superintendents in the state.
Oh, Dr.
And Tim
Parrott is
Doctor,
an
I
incredible
tried to say
doctor.
that just like you wrote it down. Is that it? I can't remember. Tim.
Yes.
Parrott's great. He wrote me and I said, just say this.
Just say this,
That's
yes.
a joke. He did not, I have not talked to him. Go ahead.
Yes, and then, but that was our total state proficiency, which we were
What was
very,
the statewide number?
40%. 40%
So
was
see.
overall proficiency.
So now the normal pattern is they give the Department of Education the power, and that's what I've been hearing for weeks, is whoever's sitting on the state education board needs to be replaced. I mean, I hear that a lot. Now, I have a few friends on that board, but I don't think it's their problem necessarily, but they need to take more control of the process and not let
Yes.
legislators dictate
Yeah.
that too. I get it in theory.
I do
get it.
and we do. And as teachers, we understand the accountability piece has got to be there. Like we 100%, I will tell you that. We know that 100%. And we're not afraid about the accountability. I think that as an educator, what we were most frustrated with is how it was rolled out. No teacher input. We were
But-
not able to give teacher input about that.
My son went to St. Mary's for 10 years, and then he went to Oak Ridge High School after that. I know what committed resources look like, but you got to have both. You got to have the commitment.
You do,
And
yes.
some of these people in really rural Tennessee just don't have the equipment, the time, everything else.
Yeah, no.
I don't think so.
No,
I mean,
they
if I
don't.
look at if I look at all your schools in the county, I would have expected Clinton Elementary and Norris to be high. And I would have gone down and said, not probably as much here and there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And,
But it's interesting because it's changed a lot too. Like I think the demographics have, yes, I think it has changed a lot. And I feel like
that had
that's
when
where.
Amber moved into the county.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a break and
Yeah.
come right back. Let's take a
Okay.
2-3 minute break and we'll be back.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Birchfield's is Oak Ridge's premier dining spot. They offer an incredible breakfast buffet that's just $14.95 and it includes your drink. But they also offer Eggs Benedict and pound cake French toast. From 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Birchfield's offers happy hour specials including 50% off appetizers and special prices on drinks, plus amazing dinner entrees that are served from 5 to 10 p.m. Enjoy an unforgettable dining experience today at Birchfield's, located inside the Doubletree Hotel on Illinois Avenue.
When should you get tested for COVID-19? You have symptoms of COVID-19, such as runny nose, congestion, sore throat, fever, cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, headache, chills, or loss of taste or smell. Current testing recommendations say everyone should get tested immediately if they have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have symptoms, be sure to follow recommendations about how long to stay home and away from others. For more information, visit our If You Are Sick or Test Positive webpage.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We appreciate you watching. I'm getting an education. They changed the whole format during the break so that they could take over. So here we go. Amber, we're going to talk about, does it really help holding somebody back a year? You guys have been into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the research that I've always read, retention is never a good thing. You know, you focus on more
Retention.
of
Retention.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, retention.
I think it was have social awkwardness.
It is. And then unless you change school settings, you know, something like that, which in our county, we only have 9 elementary schools, so I know that would be a little challenging. But you worry about early dropout rates, you know, and you worry about increase of
And why do they
self-esteem.
drop out early? Just because they have to
Well,
repeat a grade?
once you're 18, you know, you take ownership of your education. So if you want to
So
go
the
ahead.
dropout comes later.
Yes, it'll be later. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Go on. We're waiting.
I know.
Well, so I think you mentioned I work at Junior Achievement at East Tennessee.
Yes.
So, and one of our big focuses is work readiness, career exploration, entrepreneurship, and creating thriving communities. And what do we need to create thriving communities? And it's workers. It is students that are educated and are ready to kind of take on the task of creating these thriving communities. I mean, they're up and coming. And what we know to be true is that when a student drops out of school, their average salary at that point is $23,000 a year. So that is not a thriving community salary.
Not if you've been to the grocery store.
No.
Exactly. So I think that one thing that we think about is if you have a student that drops out and they're able to drop out earlier, they have one less year in high school where they're getting the curriculum that they need for that GED. So even if you're thinking this is a GED track student, then they're not getting the courses that they would need because they can drop out a year earlier than
Let
their
me
peers.
ask you this, going back a little bit. I get the point on recidivism. It's not really related to reading as much as it's being older sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, why are kids not reading well? Why do 60% of the kids not read? Is the level too high on the multiple choice test? Or are we not being prepared properly? Or are you dependent on collateral relationships at home to get reading? And last, when are we in trouble? When a child fails to achieve at a certain level, kindergarten first, when are we chasing? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to your first question on why do we have the 40% or 60%. I feel like it's how do you measure a child's reading level? Is it multiple choice? I mean, is that truly measuring what a kid can, how well a kid can read? I don't
like that.
I don't
like
either.
that.
I don't either, because sometimes the questions can be tricky too. And so that's where it's, as a teacher, that's really hard, because again, I'm going back to teaching to the test. You know, whenever you are teaching reading, you don't necessarily, yes, you want them to comprehend what they're reading. Please don't get me wrong whenever I'm about to say what I'm about to say.
Sure.
But you want to foster the love of reading. You want a lifelong learner.
But that's a parent reading to them at 5 years old, 6
It
years
is,
old.
but not all parents do that, unfortunately.
Most don't.
Yeah. Yes, and which
Most
is
of
really
them-
sad.
When
The
I was
statistics
when I was
are, like,
raising
really
children, it was
sad.
cable TV. You stuck them in front of cable.
Yes.
Now it's this all day long.
Yes. Yeah, so as parents, we're very challenged with that, and there's a lot to compete with. So it's almost like, what multiple choice, is that really teaching? Is that really measuring what a kid can learn? It truly isn't. I mean, and plus too, you got to take a step back. Like, I think our test, we had 52 questions. So you're telling me that
How long
you
to take it?
How long to? It was broken up into 3 different testing dates. Yeah. So so you're telling me that in 52 questions, you can tell me how my students can read. I'm sorry, that's not enough. That's
I would
not
think
enough.
the only way you would be able to, the only thing you'd be able to assess by that is maybe vocabulary recognition or
Yes.
something of that
Yeah.
nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I would think.
But the level of complexity of the questions too are really tricky, because I mean, how many times did, like, Corinne probably came home
Yeah.
with some questions, and even as an educator, I would be reading and I would go through the passages, and I would narrow it down to even just like 2 answers. Like, there could be possibly 2 possible answers for this, and so it seems like the test makers are tricking them. You know, it's like they're looking for something to kind of twist and try to catch them off
I think
guard,
most tests-
which
most
is,
tests
I'm sorry,
are-
that's not fair to a 3rd grader.
I don't think
I'm
most
sorry.
tests are structured to a pass-fail. They're structured to see who's smart and who's achieved.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for high achievements. I mean, it's my
They are,
guess.
yeah.
That's my guess.
I could kind of see that, yes.
Could an
I
adult,
definitely see
could an
that.
adult struggle on this test?
Absolutely, they could. I know, and I'm going to tell on myself. Mary Hanley, my intern, and I, our county decided to take benchmark tests to kind of prepare the kids for it.
Makes
And
sense.
it was a really nice job of projecting where we felt like the kids were going to be. And they were like, it was spot on, let me tell you. The 3rd benchmark that we took, Miss Morris and I, we were struggling with some of them. And then whenever we were
But it's
like,
probably not the content, it's the way it's structured.
and it was the
obviously.
way the question was worded, and it was like the answers. There was like 1 or 2 words, and so if you weren't like 100% laser focused, you would miss it. And you know, you think about as 8 and 9-year-olds taking that it's just not a fair assessment, in my opinion, at all.
The big this has been since we were in school, Brad, but the biggest criticism is we pass kids through that shouldn't be passed through because they can't read, they
100%,
can't
yes.
write.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so when they hear this story, they're thinking excuses, excuses, excuses.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you got a 3rd grader, then you understand.
Yes.
Well, I think that is one thing to discuss is that, so, you know, my daughter is in a loving, supportive 2-family home, or two working parent home. So we are reading to her. We are going over every single homework assignment. We are sitting down with her. And we were still very concerned, and she was concerned. She was biting her fingernails suddenly. Nikki and I had multiple conversations about why she was so anxious and so worried about this. And for her, what it was is, what if I don't get to move on? And what if my friends don't get to move on
Yes.
because I have a bad day?
Yes.
And I don't do well on this
And see,
test.
when Caleb was at St. Mary's, the point was he'd been with the same kids for 10 years. Obviously, half of them moved in
Yes.
now.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
idea of going back was just something that would have been incomprehensible.
And that's really not fair, especially whenever you do have your smaller schools. Like Norris, we have 2 classes per grade level. And it is a very tight community, like most
Yeah, it
communities
is. It
are.
is. It
And
is.
so, yes, you're exactly right. And the thing that, you know, we prayed over with all of our students is, you know, just giving them that peace and giving them the confidence and not second guessing themselves. And that's what we found as educators that a lot of the kids were doing. They would get to a question and they would have it narrowed down to 2 choices. They would have the right answer. It would be circled, and then you could see the wheels turning. They were second guessing. I mean, they were like wiggling in their seats, you know, and they were really struggling, and they would go and they would change their answers. And that's the frustration that comes from this.
Some teacher called me from Oak Ridge. She's one of the leading teachers there. Said kids were crying,
Oh,
teachers were crying.
yes,
It was
yes,
unbelievable. They never
yes.
seen anything like it.
Yes, and it was, and that's the frustrating point is because whenever you are in school, I mean, teachers want to create a loving, safe environment. And, and we opted not to tell the kids about the law. We felt like it was better placed in the parental hands for various reasons.
Sure.
And so that was one of the things is, like, it wasn't really talked about much with our kids, but after Christmas.
Teachers are more intimidating than parents.
Well, they are, but I don't want them coming in with that stress. I want them coming in with confidence.
Sure.
And that self-assurance that they can conquer anything in this world that they put their mind to. That's our job, is to build them up. And so, but after Christmas, they did. They started, once we did our winter benchmarks and they were realizing where they were scoring, and we charted them in the classroom. We had our exceeded, our on track, our approaching, and then we also had our below it. We charted the numbers, and they were like, oh, I'm over here, and they'd start getting upset. And then my first student was, I think it was in February, said, I'm going to be held back in 3rd grade. And I was like, oh dear. I was like, oh no. So that was another point.
I'm just thinking about it. That's scary.
It is very scary for them.
Whole
As
social
an
collateral
8
network,
and 9-year-old to have all that pressure on them. One test, literally 52 questions, is going to determine whether what their next steps look like. Yeah. So I just feel like, in my mind, I'm thinking by 3rd grade, that's way too late. And my heart is telling me, you really need to look at, 1st grade, 2nd grade. Because educators know. I mean, we know who's really kind of falling behind at that point. And if you do not qualify for special ed services, then, okay, something else is going on. Something bigger is going on. So, yeah, that's kind of that was my opinion.
In today's world, the collateral issues must be overwhelming. There are not many homes, like Amber's, where people are on it every day and doing it. I mean, it's just, I'd say 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5. Maybe North's higher.
Well, and I think on that, we talked about the disparities. So we were talking about how the TCAP was originally determined to, or it was originally supposed to determine the disparities amongst schools. So what schools are performing higher, what schools are performing lower. So I think where it did. And I think where I have a concern, though, is if we break it down into that individual student level. So we have the Corinnes who have this support network, who have grandparents who are saying, let me help find a tutor. Let me help take her to that tutor. Let me read with her every single day. I will come pick her up. So I had all of these supports and services that were available to me. But let's talk about these students that don't have that. So these are already students, let's say they are at or below the poverty line. Let's say that their parents did not graduate from high school. Okay, so then we already are at an increased risk of early dropout. So then we have a student who has a low, they have low confidence. Maybe they're not getting the help at home. They're not getting their reading log signed every single night. They're not doing the extra work because they don't have anybody to do it with, and maybe they're struggling with it. So then you have all of that, then you give them the test, and then that's what determines whether or not they move on. And I think we're spending, like I said, $132 million on this testing organization to determine this for us. So my thought would be, would some of those funds be better used in these schools to provide some of that tiered intervention?
Yes.
That
Smaller
could then
classroom sizes.
Smaller classroom sizes.
Yes.
That could help identify some of those students that didn't have that extra help that my daughter was getting, and then be able to fund some of that extra help, because the end goal, like I said, thriving communities. So we're not talking about one student, we're talking about a classroom.
Like your job. That's what they say, it's your job. I'm not sure.
Oh, I say it all day.
I bet you
every day. Thriving communities.
It means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Highest,
we want them to be contributing. We do. We want them to be contributing citizens. That's what we're building them to do.
I got it.
To give back to the communities.
But making a connection between thriving communities and getting through 3rd grade, I guess it's a little stress for me. We'll get on that. All right. So I'm going to say this real quick, and then we'll go on. Here's another thing nobody's talking about. I get these results from these schools, and Norris is 70%, and somewhere else is 40%. I'm not sending my kid to the other school. That's what's going to happen, is that people are going to, now that you're threatening failing, and in fact, nobody's paying attention, except a few parents. But now that you're threatening about holding people back, I'm sending my kid to the school that's getting kids through. They're going to find problems when the school system's got people moving around. And you can send your kid almost anywhere you want. You have to get signed off with, but it could be an increased risk. We'll be right back. Amber's up. She's got more things to say. So are your sheet. Amber's got all kinds of stuff.
Handwritten. Handwritten.
Yeah.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
All right, crew, let's get started. All right.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, ID3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Birchfield's is Oak Ridge's premier dining spot. They offer an incredible breakfast buffet that's just $14.95, and it includes your drink. But they also offer Eggs Benedict and pound cake French toast. From 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Birchfield's offers happy hour specials, including 50% off appetizers and special prices on drinks, plus amazing dinner entrees that are served from 5 to 10 p.m. Enjoy an unforgettable dining experience today at Birchfield's, located inside the Doubletree Hotel on Illinois Avenue.
Okay, it was a tough break, but I got through it. I got through it, guys. Okay. Cody, my heart's with you, buddy. Okay, so I don't know. You know, you go and do your stuff. We'll get the privatization at the end and the solution part. You guys say what you want to say. I'll talk about it. You can just comment on it. I don't think there's any grounds. The privatization of janitorial service, a privatization of your ambulance service. There's some support there, but we already have privatization. You know, we have Mount Olive Baptist, we have St. Mary's. There's already an option for privatization. The purpose of schools, public schools, was in 150 years ago, nobody got educated but the wealthy in private schools, and everybody deserved to read. So that, I think that's built into the American tradition. But we'll talk about that in the last segment. Tell me what you got.
Well, I think one other important topic is we have these students who can't read in third grade, allegedly can't read. We just talked about the testing and how that's deciding whether or not they can read. But let's talk about the state of Tennessee and what we spend per student.
Okay.
Okay. So we are 42nd in student
I'll bet money Mississippi's below that. Go ahead.
So we are 42nd. We spend 30% less per student than the national average in the state of Tennessee. So I think that also begs the question of when we're discussing this. So it was okay, so now I'm going to have to quote a number, but I'll have to get back with you. But it was 13,000 per student is the norm, and we're at 10,000.
And that excuse me, involves teachers' salaries, everything in the school system.
Yep.
13,000 per student.
Materials.
Materials,
Well,
yes.
If you had 13,000 per student, if you had 75,000 more in your class and 84 more in this class, how would you change things?
How would I change things?
Yeah, what would you spend it on?
Oh, smaller classroom sizes. I would hire more teachers. I know our biggest challenge that we faced at Norris is we did have 25 students per classroom, and so we were at 50 students per class. 50 students. That's a lot of students whenever you think about all the need.
25 per classroom, so you have
yes.
2 classrooms.
We have 2 classrooms.
We added the 25 because our math's good.
Yeah.
25 is 50, right? Okay.
Yes.
So we had 50 students and 2 teachers.
Yes, yes. And
Do
then
you ever change or do anything?
we do departmentalize, which is really nice. So I did all the ELA and then in science, and then Mrs. Cox taught social studies and math, and then we were in charge of our own reading groups and RTI groups.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
yes.
Go
Yep.
ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
So smaller classroom sizes, money spent.
So
Yep.
I think smaller classroom sizes. I think we also talked a little bit earlier about that tiered intervention. So what does acceleration look like
Okay, be
for
careful
a
now.
student?
People are trying to follow you. Tiered intervention.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and I'm not an educator, but I do understand kind of where the tiers
But you're
system.
But you're an MSW.
I am, yes.
That's as good as anything.
But, so how can we intervene with these students? What level of intervention can they get to help remedy some of that backsliding, help remedy some of those gaps without holding them back?
How much is
So-
COVID responsible?
Well,
We have-
I think that we were struggling at reading in the state of Tennessee
Okay.
before
Yes,
COVID.
yes.
So,
it
but you
was.
said 8 years ago we had the same problems with this test.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
The stakes were not as high 8 years
No.
ago. It was used as a means to determine
8
where.
years, we had no
Why are
child
the
left
stakes higher
behind.
now?
Yes.
Why are the stakes higher now?
That's a great question for the state. Like, why now? That's a great question. Why now?
Yes.
What was it that made them feel like this was the year?
Well, I'm going to say this in general,
So-
because it's in my ballpark. Legislatures are overreacting everywhere. You know, like, we got to do this, we got to get this done. We'll be the ones that get this done. We'll be the ones that get that done. And that goes for liberals in the north that are pushing agendas that are a little bit too much for most families to handle.
Right.
And in the south, we're trying to, it's the opposite
Yeah.
side. Well, our kids are going to read. There's no solution. And social work's a good area to understand collateral issues. And you can't change. It's like when somebody gets out of jail, they're going back to the same friends they had before, and they do drugs. And when you're home, if you got no help, you got no help.
Right, right.
That's trouble. I don't know how you change it. You're a social worker. How do you change it?
Well, I think Nikki and I have talked. I want nothing more than for Nikki to get paid for what she deserves, because I'm going to tell you, I was in the classroom. I have volunteered with both of my kids' classrooms in Anderson County and in Knox County, as much as the teachers have let me. And what I can tell you is it's not easy. Our teachers are working their tails off. Okay?
They kicked you out eventually, huh?
Yeah.
We're like, when can you come back?
Let me.
No. It's almost like here are the standards. What would you like to do tomorrow?
Yes.
No,
So
she was
I-
fantastic.
I
No.
think like that intervention piece of
Yes.
being able to say, hey, we are going to offer these tutoring programs during school. We're going to offer these students that extra support that they need, and we're going to do that, and we're going to benchmark it. So I'm not saying we never have data again, we never evaluate. That's not what we want as
I
parents.
think
You have to have
you shouldn't be in
accountability.
charge of the evaluation,
No,
but you should have input into how it comes about.
absolutely.
And it has to be
yes.
an allowance for certain subjective changes between kids and neighborhoods and everything else.
Yes.
But the point comes, we have to have an independent evaluation of whether the progress is working or not.
Okay. Well, one thing that I've always said, and I say always, like in the past 10 years,
Right.
if you are going to assess a child and you truly want to measure like their growth, because that's what we're measuring, right? Is their growth. That's what we want to see. You hire, and if we want to stick with Pearson, that's fine. But you hire a testing company, and they come in, they develop this test that's supposed to measure what this child should know by the end of the year. You give it to them in August. This company comes in.
Are we taking the same test as Utah and Massachusetts?
What? Massachusetts? What?
Because they're number 2 in the nation.
Oh, no, I have no, I don't know.
What I'm saying is,
every-
the expectations of a third grader in Massachusetts is going to be a little different in third
Right.
grade.
No, but this
Not
is
because
geared
we
towards
can't get there,
Tennessee.
but we're
No,
way back.
this is geared towards Tennessee. You give this company comes in. They test these kids in August. Okay, we don't administer it. The teachers are not even
I
in
think
the
that-
room. They come back in December. give the same test to them again in December.
With the August benchmark.
With the August, and then they come back in the spring, and they give the same test. So these kids have been exposed to the test 3 different times.
So the question on you
There's your
is,
growth.
they're looking
That's
at
your
if
growth.
the teacher's moving the needle in.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what they're trying to do.
Yes, yeah. That's your growth. I mean, to me, that measures the growth. You cannot determine a child's, and I'm going back to the 52 questions. In 52 questions,
They ask
you
52 each time?
No, well, no, I'm just saying the TCAP the kids took in the spring was 52 ELA questions. 52. So you're telling me you can measure a student's knowledge in 52 questions. I'm sorry.
Or
that's
156, yeah.
it was 52 questions.
But did you get them, did you have children that progressed each time?
As far as like the benchmarks go.
Well, the benchmark was in August.
Well,
They
we
retook the test at
no.
Christmas.
I'm saying that's my suggestion.
Oh, I thought that
That's
was a
what
good
I'm
suggestion.
suggesting. Yeah, that is my suggestion.
They
And
only
I've
gave it
said it
once.
for like
They only gave it
maybe Cameron Sexton, if you're listening. Here we go. That's my suggestion.
Be ready, homeboy. They're
Yeah.
coming.
I had to throw you out there, Cameron. But
Yeah,
that's
these
my
should be
suggestion.
we apologize.
Yes. No. I just
yeah,
feel
no,
like,
no.
to me, the whole idea of one test measuring, it's just unfathomable to me. I just can't understand that. And telling whether or not a child has met expectations
I
that
agree
the
with
set
that
has stepped
100%.
forward.
I agree with that 100%.
And I think another frustration with the whole thing too was going back to the point of, at the end of the day, I have a couple of students who scored a 2, and it was
What are the
because
grade
they
scales?
doubted.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What's the scales?
As far as like
said
proficient.
scored a 2.
Yes.
What does that mean?
A 2 means approaching. They were like 2-3 questions away from
And a 1
meeting.
means way back.
Yes.
And a 3 means you made it?
Yes, and 4 means you exceeded. Yes. So it's a 4, 3, 2,
But you
1.
got a 4, didn't you?
I actually am not sure. I just was when it was like she passed, I was like, hallelujah,
I
praise the
cried,
Lord, and
yes.
it's all good.
And you're like, is that it? Is
Yes,
that it? You're like,
yes.
How about
yes.
gender differences? Gender differences.
Yeah, I think
Girls
that's a good
read better?
question.
Ooh, that's a great question. Overall, like I feel like girls tend to pay more attention.
That's
I do.
important.
It is, but boys still love to read. But I feel like they like more graphic novels. You know, the comics more. Girls are more open to different genres, in my
Do
opinion.
girls play games as much as boys do, video games at home and stuff like that?
They're more. I don't think gaming as much as
I
boys
mean, these
do.
boys are gaming 8 and 10
Oh.
hours a day.
Oh, you have no. Yes, they are, and they're
your
not
son
afraid
play?
to admit
Does
it.
your son play
Yeah.
better?
No, I think my son is maybe a bit of an outlier in that way that he has always loved to read. So I think that's a little bit
It is.
different.
Good for
I
him.
will say that I do think one thing that is interesting is that when you look at where boys versus girls, I think you might be able to see some differences in where they excel. Is it math or science, or is it ELA?
I just presume girls are smarter in 3rd grade. That's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't say smarter. I wouldn't say they're smarter.
Well, they're smarter in that thing.
It's how much they pay attention. It's the interest. It's
How-
the buy-in.
How
it's the
critical
buy-in.
is paying
Oh,
attention and getting
absolutely.
smarter? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, totally agree with that. Yeah, but the boys, they're too busy doing.
But we just got through
other
talking
things,
about girls
so.
are maturing faster than boys.
Yes,
So I would
yes.
think they would be more prepared to do better.
Yeah, and they care more at that age. Generally speaking, now you do have some boys that are the exception, but generally speaking, the girls are the ones
Yeah.
that usually do care a little
So,
bit more. But they're more
but it's not a big-
competitive with each other
It's
too.
not a big problem
Yes.
with.
They talk
okay,
more.
but there's
They
not a
talk
gender
more.
solution to this, so it's close enough here, what you're saying,
Yeah.
it's not that way, okay.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that we all have strengths and weaknesses too. So I think so we're talking about a test. Maybe a student missed 3 questions to get them to the 3, the coveted
Out of
3.
52, yeah.
Yes. So if they did not get that, let's say they missed 2 or 3 questions. So, but let's say that they are incredibly advanced at math. Doesn't matter. They're not
It doesn't
moving
matter.
on.
Why would you send them to 4th grade math? I mean, that's right, 3rd grade math again, that's right.
So the question still is that this is across the board. It's not really helping a whole lot of people in general. It's not really helping any of these students.
See, for me, there's 2 questions here. Is the test mechanism the one we want? And the answer pretty much from you guys and me is no, it doesn't do the job. Even if we slowed it down or spread it out, though it seems like the transmission, how am I doing? It seems like the communication between the test and the child is not real effective. That's what I'm guessing from the sidebar, right? That would be the first question. And the second question would be, I think for me personally is it a wise expenditure like you were talking about of moving us ahead in what we're doing? Although I think the diversity in schools is a major issue. Maybe they take everybody who had 20% or less and they put in one program. They got to fund it. Unfunded mandates ain't going to help us, guys.
That's it.
You got to get it done.
That's it. Is
You
like
gotta
the
break-
supports. Like, what supports are they going to be putting in place for us next year? Because like this year, I think one of the biggest struggles that we had is in our planning time. You know, we have 45-minute planning time.
Okay.
And in that 45 minutes, not a whole lot can happen, but we try to make the most of what we can get. But this year, our 45 minutes was spent more in communication with parents. We were in constant communication with parents. We were making phone calls, talking about their child's progress, because after the first benchmark, we had identified that group where we were like, okay, these are the ones that we are really concerned about.
Forget the
Yeah.
52 questions.
Yes.
How many kids in a given year would you hold back in your class?
How many given?
If you're 25, how many would you, just pick a number, rather, average?
Average?
One or two?
Maybe. But in 22, I've been in education for 22 full years. I have never held a child back.
She started at 12.
I started at
Ebony.
11.
Go ahead.
I've never held a kid back.
Ever.
No, sir. I have not.
But you had a solution going forward?
We did. We had a solution, and we had the supports in place, for sure. Yes.
You know, my father skipped 7th grade, and that's a tough grade to skip.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a long time ago, 1930-something. But, I mean, I think holding back is much more detrimental.
I just don't support it.
I just don't think
No.
there's too many social problems.
Yes.
And we're going to let you tell us all about those things, and we'll finish up. Just got one more break. Thank you, guys.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, ID3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. ID3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Birchfield's is Oak Ridge's premier dining spot. They offer an incredible breakfast buffet that's just $14.95, and it includes your drink. But they also offer eggs Benedict and pound cake French toast. From 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Birchfield's offers happy hour specials, including 50% off appetizers and special prices on drinks, plus amazing dinner entrees that are served from 5 to 10 p.m. Enjoy an unforgettable dining experience today at Birchfield's, located inside the Doubletree Hotel on Illinois Avenue.
When should you get tested for COVID-19? You have symptoms of COVID-19, such as runny nose, congestion, sore throat, fever, cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, headache, chills, or loss of taste or smell. Current testing recommendations say everyone should get tested immediately if they have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have symptoms, be sure to follow recommendations about how long to stay home and away from others. For more information, visit our If You Are Sick or Test Positive webpage.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We're going to spend the last 15 minutes, and we're going to figure out how we can improve this process. Help parents with third graders who the state's has some good goals, but not very patient. And I'm going to let them figure it out. I want Amber and I want Nikki to figure out, what do we do? Where do we go?
Well, I think one of the things that was really frustrating from the parent standpoint is that we didn't have the supports that we needed to determine how to help them at home. And this is assuming that you have that level of support at home, that you're able to do that. But I think we had never had these are the levels that you need to be working on. This is the specific ways that you can help your student, and then break those down into small goals. That didn't happen. And then I think that the other last thing that I think for parents is, when you take the control out of the parents' hands, I think we can all say unanimously that parents get really mad. And I think when we feel like our school boards that we elected are not being listened to, I think that's very difficult for us, because when our school board is saying, when I call my school board rep, Dale Cantrell, and I say, hey, here's my issue, and he says, I agree with you, and we've said this, and we've written the letters, and they do not care. I think that where that makes me feel like is, where is my money going? I want my tax dollars to be spent in my community, making it better and giving me the support I need as a parent. But I think you also have some ideas on that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, as the parent support is so critical, because I know, like, we've been very blessed. Like, I hate, and don't laugh at me when I say this, but of all the years for this law to happen, this could not have happened with a better group of parents. My parents were amazing. They prayed with me. They supported us. Anything we needed, you guys were always right there, willing to help and to step in. And so I'm very grateful for that. But I know I'm one of far between. I know it wasn't like that across the board. So for the parent side of it, our frustration is how many changes happened in short amount of time. Like, I believe we would send information out, and it was like, and then they decided to change some numbers and stuff. It's like, oh, well, by the way, this has changed and that has changed. So the first thing that I would love to see is it needs to be set. Now, the changes, I will say, I'm grateful for.
Set? What does that mean?
Set means like backtracking. It's almost like they had it in place, the state had this law in place, and then they were like, oh, wait, that's too much to expect at once.
When did they decide that? When did they figure that?
Usually, what was it, after Christmas, I think we started. It was like after Christmas.
So they started amending the rules.
Yes, and they did, rightfully so, as they should have, because I think the first proclamation was unbelievable. Like, there's just no way. And we kept trying to figure out, like, how many fourth graders is that going to put for the following year? How many third graders is that going to put? Where are they going to put all these kids?
That's right.
Like, it was the expectations were.
As soon as it turned to money, they get interested.
Oh my goodness, yes. Because, I mean, they would have had to have had at least 3 third graders. And where are you going to put them? How are you going to fund that? I mean, so like it was a numbers game. And the interesting thing about it is they wouldn't really know until at the end of summer school, which is happening right now. And we just finished up 3 weeks of summer school. Next week is our last week. And so then it's kind of like you have a month to prepare where we're going to put all these kids. So I'm glad that they did kind of step back and they opted to give options.
Well,
for these
I
kids.
think the obvious option is to take the tutoring.
Absolutely.
But you got to figure out how that's going to work.
How that's going to look. Yes, which is kind of good though, because then like the tutoring is going to be free to parents, which I'm very grateful for.
And will the state pay for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me?
Is the state going to pay these tutors?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's coming from funding from the state.
Okay,
yes.
well, that's what we're talking about, right?
I'm pretty for sure. I'm almost I'm
Don't
pretty
worry
for sure.
about
Like the county might have funding, and I don't. I should have looked at that. I'm not quite sure the
Doesn't
answer to
matter.
that part.
It's coming from somewhere.
But it's coming from somewhere, and they're going to pay these tutors. And the good thing about the tutoring is that it can happen before school, it can happen after school, and it's usually like 30, 45 minutes. It's
At
a
the
small
school.
segment. It's at the school, yes. So the parents are not having to take them to a different location, which is really
and
good.
I mean, I get it with Amber. Amber can tutor my kid who was educated, is well-spoken, comes in. How do you qualify these tutors?
The tutors are usually certified teachers.
Oh, it's different.
Yes, which is really good. Yes, and then what's really nice is that most of them, because I know like for our experience that we had, I know Corinne was new into the county, so she wasn't new. She didn't know the teachers, but like we had a couple of tutors who had the students previously. So they knew the students well. And with our school, it's a small school. We all know each other.
Beautiful area.
It's such, I love Norris, but they already had that relationship established. So the trust was already there.
Okay.
And the buy-in was already there from the kids, which was really nice. That's half the battle right there, is getting your kids to just know you are there for them and to
Amber,
trust
what would
them.
you change? What do we got to do?
Yeah.
I think
What made
smaller.
you the maddest? What made you the maddest?
I think that the maddest, well, I think, let's go back. I think that you could not only get tutoring, I think you had to have a 2, right, to get the tutoring. If you had a 1, you couldn't get the
There
tutoring.
was a list of students that we could choose from.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So then that
based
was.
on their performance.
Okay, so then that is helpful. So this is another thing, as a parent, I didn't know anything. So I knew nothing.
So
All
you
I
got that
knew,
phone call.
I got the phone call that she passed, and that was great. It was wonderful. I was incredibly concerned about the rest of the kids in her class. I was incredibly concerned about the rest of her 3rd grade peers that she had been with the last 2 years at Fountain City Elementary in Knoxville. I was very worried in general about what this was going to do to our teachers and our teacher shortage that we have. I think
there's been
Norris.
some teacher stress. I think there's a
You have
possibility
no
you'll lose some
idea.
teachers
Yes.
over
You
this stuff.
have no idea
And
how many teachers
yes.
have already, and they've even opted to go from pulling out of ELA. So you have some really strong reading teachers are like, we're out. We're going to go into science and social studies because
ELA,
those
let's
are
define that for the voters.
language arts. That's what this whole test is
I
based
understand.
around. And so they're like, we're bowing out gracefully,
Tell me when it's
and we are going to move into other subject areas. So we're losing some very valuable teachers because
Yes.
of this law. And we have other teachers who maybe had been on the fence about getting out of education, because let's just be honest, education is it's tough. It's very taxing on the families, your own personal families, because most teachers spend 2 to 3 hours outside of school, easily outside of school, working on their students. This year it was more than that, because you spent your days communicating with parents and working with the kids. Your planning never happened during the day. It was always outside of school. So going back to that, but sorry.
Well,
so-
we got 2 minutes left.
Oh,
So
okay.
what is Amber's daughter? She moves on to 4th grade, just
Yes.
for example.
Yes.
What will she encounter in reading next year?
Well, I think because of the financial status that I have, my husband and I decided to put her, get her some extra reading support. And the goal that we're getting this reading support is for her to love reading again. I think that that's the goal, is that school is going to be real hard when you're in high school, you're reading complex novels, and you hate reading. Nobody wants that. So we went from
I didn't start
having.
reading until I was senior in high school, really. I mean, I got through,
Yeah.
I did what I was asked, but when I got interested in politics and history in particular, I started
Exactly.
reading a lot.
And I think that that's the thing, is finding that niche for students on what does interest them. I mean, we talked about the graphic novels. We talked about different ways that you can engage kids in reading. Even if you have a student who's like, I'm going to go into welding. This is my goal. They have to be able to feel that engagement with a text, because they're going to need that, right? So it's how to get our kids back engaged. So that's where we are, is how do we reintroduce reading as a way, yes, the
Just
love
the
of
love of
reading.
reading.
Let me ask a quick question, because we're running down time. Is reading on a phone or a pad or computer the same as reading a book?
I'm a book reader.
I'm such a big reader, but most of our teachers at our school are the tablet readers.
Really?
I'm a
That's so
page
funny.
turner.
Okay.
I want the smell.
BFFs.
Me too.
Yeah, I
I'm
want the
smelling.
smell of
See,
the-
we are. We're BFFs.
She didn't even know that. She didn't tell you that. How close can you move?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
So
joking.
it's just getting back to the point of taking the pressure off the kids of this test.
What can the
and
parents
loving,
do? 30 seconds. What do you want the parents
Support
to do?
your teachers.
Yes,
Trust us.
agreed.
And just trust us to take care of your children. Please trust us to take care of your children. And then just to
I think most
sit
people
and
do
read.
that, though.
No, they don't. And read a book with your kid. Read your book. Sit in the bed. Make it fun. Don't make it a chore. Don't make it a
Don't
chore.
read on a tablet.
Don't read on a tablet. No.
Get it done.
Yes.
Okay, we got 10 seconds. You guys
Okay.
are great.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll come back.
I'll
We'll
bring-
keep this
I'll
party
bring you back.
going.
I'll
We
bring
got
you
2
back.
more hours.
Thank you, everybody. Wendy Manning Show is up next.
Daniel Forrester has been recognized as one of East Tennessee's leading attorneys for nearly 2 decades. Civil disputes, criminal defense, divorces, and juvenile custody cases are all part of an impressive resume. Daniel's legal experience also includes representing clients in local, state, and federal courts. A husband and a father, Daniel is a Rule 31 certified mediator who has represented hundreds of families in Chancery Court. Call Daniel Forrester Law Office at 865-457-7900 for a free consultation. Birchfield's is Oak Ridge's premier dining spot. They offer an incredible breakfast buffet that's just $14.95 and it includes your drink. But they also offer Eggs Benedict and pound cake French toast. From 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Birchfield's offers happy hour specials including 50% off appetizers and special prices on drinks, plus amazing dinner entrees that are served from 5 to 10 p.m. Enjoy an unforgettable dining experience today at Birchfield's, located inside the Doubletree Hotel on Illinois Avenue.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.